It's me. It's not DDP. It's the RVE. Back here doing a live edition of the HeelCast. I just got an alert popping up on my phone just to let everyone know this is not actually a Bound for Glory review show, but we are doing some things here. Now, with me this week, I talked about a marriage that possibly should have ended last week with Hurls and Chef, and surprisingly to anyone that's in our chats, I lost for words. I was at a loss for words that they didn't fight, but I've got my actual other spouse on the side with me. I've got the one and only AEW dude with me. AEW dude, what's going on, man?
Dude, what's up? Long time. It has been way too long since we have done this. We need to do this more frequently, like every goddamn week.
That's the plan, at least. As I said last week, we're trying to actually get back to doing this. I think we kind of forget sometimes HeelCast is our baby. We do try and make this thing work. We've been very bad at it, but we're giving it a go here. The old college try. How have you been, man?
Dude, you know what? I've been pretty good, but it's just busy as freaking hell. And it's one of those things where you're struggling to almost get through the day with everything that's been going on around you. But I don't know. It's winter time, and things have slowed down a bit. And I'm excited about wrestling again. Excited as hell about all the options that we have to watch wrestling. And talking about wrestling just sounds like a freaking awesome thing to be doing. Do you know what I'm saying? We're in a great place. We got AEW, we got NWA, we got options now. Options we didn't have a couple years ago. It's just an incredibly exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I hear you there, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think this past week is probably the best episode of NWA I've seen. I thought AEW. I'm still buzzing off AEW from last night. I thought they put on a great show on that Jericho cruise, and on top of it, even better, the San Francisco 49ers are back. They did. I was excited that we weren't going to play the Ravens, although now I'm pretty scared shitless that we were actually playing Mahomes and Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and the Chiefs. So.
And you're the only team out there that I feel comfortable beating them right now because they look freaking hot as hell. But I gotta tell you, if we're gonna talk football for a hot minute, your 49ers are as complete a team right now as I've seen in a very long time. I think your offense is underrated and putting up a lot of points, right? And I think your defense is just tearing it up. I do think, though, that if there's a team out there that can take you out, Mahomes, that Chiefs offense, and their defense playing the word they're playing, is that recipe. And I think what this means is that we're going to have a phenomenal Super Bowl. It's going to be competitive to the end. It's going to be exactly what everybody would hope that it would be like. So I think it's going to be a great game. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for your Niners in this one, but you know what? It's going to be a good one.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a great game. There's a good strategical matchup. It does come down to which defense. The Chiefs' defense improving does scare the shit out of me quite a bit. I'm not very confident my team is going to win, to be honest with you, which has got me a nervous wreck. But I'll tell you this, if we win, my wife better look out because I'm going to be harder than Dave Meltzer watching Japanese wrestling, I'll tell you that.
7 stars, baby, 7 stars.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Dave Meltzer. I saw something the other day about just how he was saying Tessa Blanchard's the best female worker that's not Japanese. It's just like, God, this dude is such a fucking dork. But anyways, we'll move forward to the plugs. Fuck you, Meltzer. Check out last week's. Honestly, man, check out last week's show. I think we had a really good episode, and I hope people tune in. Again, having Hurls and Chef on there is always a delight. Hurls should be recording an episode of the Hurls Cast reviewing Impact right now as we speak. Whether Hurls is going to get that done, we don't know. Can't really knock Hurls for considering he's the one that carries this show all the time. But Hurls is a little off sometimes with that stuff.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me the HeelCast is now multiple weeks in a row putting out 2 shows?
Yeah, it should be. I mean,
that's impressive. That's impressive, right? Shit. The HeelCast is back.
It is. We are back, baby. Also, check out our family. Of course, Larkin. It's the gosh, I meant to check this out. I forgot the name of it. It's the S&M podcast that Larkin does, right?
Yeah, Sadist and Masochist.
Yes, Larkin, the podcast horror, also does his LFC podcast and about every podcast known to man. But I'll be honest with you, Larkin, in my opinion, for the people that do the stuff that we do, is the absolute best there is in the business. So check him out. Check out our buddy Kyle at the Total Nonstop Impact show on BQ's Impact Lounge, and also check out our buddy Andre Corbeil's show as well. It's Wrestling with Wrestling, I believe. It's at Twitter at Wrestling with W3. So check him out, and of course follow the HeelCast at _HeelCast, and you can check us out on ImpactAsylum.net as well as live on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, and iTunes. Am I missing anything else?
You are. Don't forget to check Raven Effect out on Facebook.
Yeah. In 3 more days, that guy's gonna be back. I'll tell you.
Really? That's when your ban ends in 3 days?
My 30 days of hard time should be over with.
Oh, God, grief.
I don't know if I'll be able to actually be active on there Sunday or Monday, but I'll tell you what, I've substituted that time with wrestling Twitter, and that shit is toxic cancer. That damn wrestling Twitter is just marks and nerds and some angry people on there. Y'all need to calm down. But
the things that matter.
Right? Oh my God, people. So we ready to move into the news stories? We got some doozies this week like last week. Nowhere near as much as last week, but still quite a bit of news. You ready?
Get her done!
All right, my friend. So Satan himself, we opened last week with sad news of Rocky Johnson's passing. This week, we get to talk about Rocky Johnson's funeral. Now, Satan himself and Pat Patterson. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, Pat Patterson was molesting ring boys back in the 80s, and Vince McMahon covered it up. Somehow this shit doesn't go. In today's cancel culture, this shit somehow doesn't seem to get brought up. But so, reports from superstar Billy Graham and also D.H. Smith, the British Bulldog's son, who were in attendance, it said that Vince and Pat caused a bunch of drama. Apparently, so rumor has it, so the pastor there spoke longer than they wanted. Really, like that pissed them off. But mentioned wrestling being fake and made a joke of it, which apparently pissed Vince and his Chimo boyfriend Pat Patterson off, to where literally Pat Patterson was apparently drunk. Apparently they both were, but Pat Patterson, cursed a lot during his speech. Allegedly said some story about how he was drunk the night before and had the toilet seat fall down and hit him on the head. And then the
and he
story,
enjoyed it too, knowing that son of a bitch.
And the Vince story, apparently Vince, struts up in full promo mode, and said that Rocky did a lot of good things. The best thing he did was marrying his wife, and then she had some kids, and then literally walked off in his billionaire strut. I'm just gonna say, for one, and I know people on wrestling Twitter especially get really, really butthurt. Wrestling is fucking fake. It is a fake sport.
What?
It's not.
The
Don't tell me
fuck?
it's scripted. No, it's fucking fake. It's a fake sport. It's not real. It's fine to joke around about it. Vince and all you fucking people that get butthurt over it, y'all can calm down on it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a fake sport. Honestly, man, like, Vince is just scum of the earth, dude. He's so just clueless on reality, and there's rumors that all he does is watch WWE, and that's it. He's totally just lost. And honestly, what I almost think, because the sack of shit, every time that someone he's employed dies, he always tries to make this disgusting angle out of it, and then convince the families that it's what the wrestler would have wanted. And he does it in this disgusting, degrading way. And I'm almost thinking, like, he thought he could probably convince The Rock that if he did this, to get Rocky worked up enough to where he could coax him into doing an angle to work WrestleMania to salvage the tarnishing of his father's name. It's just disgusting if they acted this way, and pathetic people. And Vince is fucking scum of the earth. With all the stuff he's done, I mean, this isn't really that bad compared to the other shit he's done in his life. But your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, first of all, apparently the pastor talked for over an hour, right? And apparently he'd take a big shit on professional wrestling. I will disagree with you. Wrestling is not a sport. It's a sport. It's sports entertainment. I know this because the devil himself, that motherfucker VKM, tells us all the time it's sports entertainment. So why he would be pissed off that somebody said it wasn't real is beyond me. He presents it as fake and not real. Vince Sr., okay, would have a shit fit on what Vince Jr. has done to the business, because Vince Sr. always saw wrestling as something that should be portrayed as real and didn't like anything that would possibly lead you to believe that it was not real, which is pretty much everything that Vince Jr. has done in the last 20 to 25 years. Okay, so let's get that straight first off. The second thing is that, Raven Effect, who is the WWE's biggest star?
I mean, ever or right now?
Right now. If they can bring one guy in, who's the one that's going to change ratings and on any given show?
Rock or Austin? I used to be able to say Hogan, can't say it anymore.
It's Rock. I mean, don't get me wrong. Austin's cool and everything, but Austin's not. He's just not. Okay.
He's not a movie star.
He's not a movie star. He's not The Rock. So here you have your biggest potential game changer. Okay, and you're gonna shit on his father's damn grave. Apparently, Pat Patterson walked up to the casket and started yelling obscenities to Rocky. Did you hear that part?
I think I somehow think I forgot about it. It's just disgusting.
I mean, it's
Did Rocky not fuck you, Pat?
I mean, right? Or maybe Rocky's dick was too big, hurt Pat's ass or something. Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck cares? The point is this, right? First of all, the guy is dead, and you're at his damn funeral, okay? There's a time and a place. There really isn't a time and a place to be an asshole. We seem to do a pretty good job at doing it far too often ourselves, Raven. But the bottom line is that at a funeral, you respect the dead guy. He's dead. You respect the family. You respect the wife. You respect the kids. You respect the grandkids. You respect all that stuff. And then it's The Rock's dad at that. When was the last time The Rock did anything wrong at all in his life? This guy is literally above all of Hollywood celebrity. All the bullshit we put up with at a Hollywood celebrity, The Rock goes above it. The Rock is the guy who go take some young girl who tweeted to him to would he go to prom with her, and he actually shows up in friggin' Minnesota or wherever it was and takes her to the damn prom, okay? This is the guy you're talking about, and this is how you act at his father's funeral. If I was The Rock, I'd be sitting around knowing that I got hundreds of millions of dollars. Every movie that I do is worth millions upon millions of dollars, and I don't need those assholes, okay? The Rock doesn't need wrestling at all, and he would be wise to tell VKM, to tell Pat Patterson, go fuck yourselves, go fuck each other, stick your dicks wherever you two do, okay? I ain't coming back because you disrespected my father, and that is my father, and you just don't freaking do that shit. Okay, so it is beyond disgusting. But you know what? At the same point in time, that's what this guy does. He's a piece of fucking garbage, just like I've been saying for years.
You know the thing too, man, and so apparently, according to Harry Smith, Davey Boy Smith's son, was that none of the Rocky's family were upset or anything like that, which that blows my mind. And you know, for one, this is all hearsay. Of course I believe it because I think Vince is literally scum of the earth. But I mean, honestly, even if you did get pissed off that they were talking about your business being fake and he did shit on professional wrestling or whatever, it's not about you. And Rocky Johnson had more of a life than just what he did while he worked for you, while he made you money, while his son literally made you a billionaire. It's despicable how anyone could act that way, and it's just disgusting. There's talk about Pat Patterson possibly going senile, and maybe that's it. But it just, goddamn, dude, just what a disgusting display, foul taste in anyone's mouth.
You know what? So that doesn't excuse it. Senile or not senile, I don't care what people want to say. You have handlers for that. Okay, Vince is standing there with you. Okay, if he's sane, Pat, we got to get out of here. Come on, there's lots of people there. You just don't do this to the family. This is just absolute and utter bull fucking shit. It's disgusting.
And it's funny too because earlier on that day there were a lot of fans. There was a photo that came out. It was of an NXT banner poster in a New York City subway. That some fan or some fans had actually spray painted AEW stuff all over it. Instead of the NXT, they spray painted AEW, Be Elite, TNT, stuff like that. And it's just funny how the WWE universe was coming out all butthurt and saying how disgusting it was, and these are AEW fans and how that company acts and behaves. Yeah, guess what? Y'all look a lot worse right now.
Well, and they're wrestling fans. I mean, wrestling fans do do immature shit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of comes along with the territory, but it's a disgusting story. Look, Rock, you're out there. Our prayers go out to you and your family. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank your father for everything that he's done. And yeah, he did have a kid and did a really good job having a kid. And that's another feather in his cap. But he was a good man. He was a great wrestler. Sorry that he's left us, a little too soon, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt, man. He's the same age as my father, so that scares me. And like I said on the show last week, I mean, even Rocky's sperm was legendary. So props to this man, a true legend. Back to the story on the graffiti on the NXT banner. Do you have any thoughts you want to say on it? Because people were making a bigger deal out of it than I think it needed to be.
I don't really. It's wrestling fans. That's what they do. They're territorial. It's stupid. They're territorial. I don't watch NXT. I don't watch WWE. But they do stupid things. It's graffiti, right? It's illegal. It's wrong. You shouldn't do it. And that's where it ends, right? It's no different than graffiti on the side of a building. It's terrible. It's disgusting, but it's not a national story.
Yeah. I mean, they were talking like it was this major crime, and the person that did it is disgusting and all that. Look, I'm gonna say this: I would never do it. I don't condone it. I think it's kind of lame and immature. Then again, I also think it's funny because of what happened to. Look, and let's also be honest: no one that's ever graffitied or anything like that is cool. Like, if you're tagging or graffiti, there's 100% chance you're a douche. But it's at the same time, dude, it's a cheap ass poster from a billionaire company run by a fucking dickhead that have ruined lives and careers of people who've done stuff to cut other businesses down and monopolize it. So fuck them. Anyone all upset and butthurt about it, get a life. But also the person that did it, get a life. But moving on, and it's funny too because I heard you mention Vince Senior would be rolling over in his grave if he knew what his son was doing to the business that he started. So actually, let's have him roll over a couple more times. So a story came out today, WWE NXT trying to cater to the woke crowd, and by woke I mean delusional fucking idiot crowd. NXT is now dropping with their women's title the word women's in it. So there's now 2 NXT championships, one for the men, one for the women, but they don't say women's. Maybe flirting with the idea of women becoming the champion over there too. If you only thought Impact was just this fucking stupid, you're wrong. Your thoughts on this delusional idiocracy and just laughing stock that is the woken NXT?
When I heard that, my gut reaction was, this is WWE trying to be sensitive to super sensitive people. And if I'm correct, it had something to do with what's her name? Who's the main chick over there again?
The man, Becky Lynch.
The Becky Lynch apparently said something along the lines of the females and the males, and they should drop it. So they did what she said to do, right? And she probably said it because they told her to say it. That's how that shit works, right? But my gut on this is that they're trying to eliminate any potential push that Impact's going to get out of Tessa Blanchard, which I don't think is going to be much anyway, right? And at the end of the day, they only did it with NXT, okay, which is their younger crowd show, which immediately shows you that they're trying to make NXT more for the 20-somethings, the millennials, and that Raw and SmackDown are for the older folks, right? And folks, that's me, by the way. So I'm not calling out old people. I fall into that category. I don't watch Raw or NXT, but I'm the demographic they're talking about. So basically, yeah, they're doing it to satisfy the demographic that watches NXT and try to keep them there, which is just, it's really stupid. And it's really stupid, not because it really matters whether it's a man or a female or anything else, but okay. Then its next match is for the NXT Championship. And then randomly, either the men or the women are going to come out. You never knew the fuck's coming out when they announce it, right? And that's where people are just going to get confused and be stupid, and it'll just go away because of a dumb idea. If they want to say the NXT Men's Championship, okay. They want to say the NXT Women's Championship, okay. if they think that they need to be so woke that they can't assume that the default is the men's champion because quite frankly that's the way it's been for the last fucking 100 years. Okay, fine. NXT men's champion, NXT women's champion, but when you call them the same goddamn thing, you're just gonna confuse people. People getting ready to get up and take a shit, and all of a sudden it's like, well, crap, that's the match I wanted to see. You know. So
and then I'll be like, oh wait, stupid. It's the women's match. Time to go finish that shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think it's anything more than that, but it goes to show you that either they know their market and they're playing their market, or they're just completely two-faced, talk out both sides of your mouth, bullshit company that you and I know that they are. Because like I said, they're not doing it for Raw and SmackDown. It's not a corporate policy. It's only a policy for the demographic that actually cares about it. Just another stupid WWE thing. Like I said, it'll go away because it's confusing. I mean, it'll kill itself for that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And the other thing too, I mean, you're talking about the younger and the demographic and all that's true. I also look at it as NXT was created to basically wipe out the other competition. You know, the Impacts, the ROHs, the MLWs, the smaller companies. You know, because the indie thing actually started to get a little bit bigger there. So it was their way to counter that. And then you have, you know, one of the major of the smaller companies in Impact doing something ridiculous and making a female their world champion, and then making a man in Jordan Grace their knockouts champion. Breaking news, Jordan Grace has just been offended by something. But I think that's their other ploy too, is it's like, okay, we can take this away from Impact and take away any credit Impact has gotten. And I mean, you hit it right on the head. Impact's ratings aren't going to jump at all from Tessa becoming champ of their little shock value that they're doing. They're not going to gain any viewers. They're actually going to lose the ones like there's going to be a handful. They're just, you know, this is enough for me. You know, you and I are done after all the years of loyalty and watching every single week pretty much, and money and podcasts that we've done for the show. I mean, shit, you bought tickets for BFG. I've got a big DVD collection. We both subscribe to the network at times. I mean, you know, Impact is losing ground, and NXT is probably going to wipe away some of their viewers too, that just realize, okay, this is really stupid.
Yeah, and like, you know, we were talking earlier today, and I really like in this intergender stuff too. It's sort of like hardcore was 20 years ago, and Impact is trying to beat ECW in more ways than one by bringing back all their stars, right? So, you know, when you kind of look at it that way, it's something that they think that they can cash in on. I think it's a fad at best, honestly, if you want my opinion. But you know, people are what they are, and if somebody wants to watch it, they want to watch it. But they're not gonna catch lightning in a bottle with this, because this isn't lightning in a bottle catchable. So if I was WWE, I wouldn't react to it a whole hell of a lot. But they on the flip side, though, Raven Effect, you heard that WWE has started a Twitch channel now.
I did. It actually, as much as I used to hate when they do shit like that, it actually made me laugh a little bit. It's kind of funny. As soon as Impact got in trouble, WWE came in and put on their programming, which has got to be like their bottom of the barrel garbage, and it'll still get more hits than Impact's will. I think it's funny, a funny way to capitalize on a bad situation for Impact. Your thoughts on it?
I think that, you know, there are companies like WWE, they don't operate that quickly, so I don't think it's just because, hey, Impact got kicked off, let's go there. I think they've been watching it, and I think it's actually AEW that's driving that. They're, you know, let's face it, Dynamite isn't beating NXT in those key demographics every single week. If you're not over 50, you're watching AEW. And I really feel like WWE is trying to find ways to cater to that younger crowd, and Twitch caters to that younger crowd. I mean, I think Twitch is like a terrible platform. Like, we don't even broadcast the HeelCast there anymore because it's just, I don't know, it's just a terrible platform to work with, to view, to look at. The quality just is just garbage, if you want my true opinion. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think that they're looking at it and they're saying, millennials like this, how can we get millennials? And I think you're seeing them reaching for a demographic that they really don't have. And they see AEW coming in and making ground with that, and it scares them because, quite frankly, I know people don't think that AEW is a danger to WWE, and it's not. But if these millennials grow up on AEW, in 20 years, they'll still be with it, and so are their kids, okay? And then WWE will be in trouble. So they're trying to do anything that they can to nip this competition in the bud, and that is really getting to the demographic. And that demographic is not buying the WWE network. They're on Twitch. So, I mean, I think that's what this is about. I think it was carefully thought through. I don't think it's just because Impact got kicked off. I think it's funny as hell that Impact managed to get kicked off of Twitch. I think it's funny as hell that it happened while Impact was kicked off of Twitch. But I think it was orchestrated much, much further back than what people will give it credit for.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Let's see here. And you know, it's weird because we normally never will cover WWE or NXT news, but so the other thing that's just too funny to let go is this Triple H and Paige story. So there was I don't know, some presser or something where Triple H made a comment about how Paige may have children that she doesn't know about. It caused an uproar, of course, by the woke social justice warrior crowd, and you know, it ended up with Triple H apologizing to Paige, her boyfriend, who's the lead singer of Escape the Fate, which is literally, I didn't even know that emo wigs existed until this band came around. It came out like it's fuck Triple H all 2020. I mean, honestly, the joke is actually funny. People need to stop being so sensitive. It's absurd, and it's obviously a joke and it's sarcasm because, like, Paige, for one, is a female. It's impossible for you to not have children that you don't know about out there, and two, because she has a history of being a slut.
I mean, it is what it is.
This girl literally, you know, filmed herself in a video, basically acting like a Kardashian, and what do you expect? You know, it hit the internet. Shit, I think everyone's seen it. It's just I don't know. It's so ridiculous how uptight and butthurt they are about that. Like, you expect to deal with repercussions when you do stupid shit. Your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it was an incredibly stupid thing to say, and I think that's the end of it. I mean, we've all made jokes that we were trying to be funny, and the joke just didn't work, right? And you know what I think of Triple H, all right? First of all, there's only one Triple H. That's Hollywood Hulk Hogan. I think he's the most overrated wrestler in history. I think he's a slimy piece of crap that only got where he got because he's fucking the boss's daughter. And by the way, she ain't all that, but she's still better than him. So I'm not a Triple H fan by any stretch of the imagination, but okay, he said something that was kind of stupid. He was trying to be funny, and it wasn't. And that's the end of it. I mean, like, you know, originally, I think it was Hurls was trying to make it out like he was making fun of the fact that she couldn't have kids, right? No, he was not that at all. He was just referring to the fact that she gets around a little bit. I mean, we've all seen her sex tapes, fucking two guys at the same time and shit. Okay, we all know about her and Alberto. So, you know, she's definitely been around. And if she was a guy, nobody would give a shit. If she was a guy, it actually would have been funny. Okay, because it's okay to say that about a guy, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to say something about a guy that you can't say about a woman. And Triple H just got it wrong, and he made a mistake. He apologized for it, and it should be the end of it. I don't know why people are that much of an uproar about it. It's just, okay, you said something dumb, you're done. Oops.
Yeah. It's because people are sensitive pussies in this day and age, and the social justice warrior crowd can't let it go. You think it was? I actually thought it was pretty funny. So, and I'm not a Triple H fan. I actually disagree on him being a bad wrestler. I actually think he's put on some classic stuff. I used to be a fan of his years ago. I'm far from one now, but you know, I don't think he's as bad as some of the Nocky kids. But
what did Jordan Disgrace say about this? I'm sure she had something to say.
You know, I don't think either of us know because she's blocked us on Twitter. So,
probably. Actually, I don't think she's blocked me yet. She should, though. She really should.
Yeah. Which is fine because I could care less to follow her. I mean, I guess maybe it's partially funny. It's almost like the Cody effect. It'd be funny to see just the absurdity of what they actually say sometimes. But that's that said, if you want absurd on Twitter, a good thing to follow is Mr. DMM. It's Tabloid Wrestling News. This guy makes Cody look like an Impact hater with how delusional and stupid the comments are. So if you want a funny joke, take a look at that. I just shouted you out on our show. There's some fucking cred for you, douchebag. So I guess, the only other, I got a couple more stories here. One about your boy, Killer Kross. Now, Killer Kross also, speaking of Triple H, met with Triple H either last week or early this week.
They're perfect for each other. Just insert Pat Patterson in the middle and they can have a fucking orgy.
Oh, poor Scarlett. So after these meetings, Killer Kross put out a poll saying, where do you want me to go, is between New Japan, ROH, NXT, or not NXT, I think he put WWE and AEW, and AEW won. Now, the funny part about the story is that he is no longer available to be booked WrestleMania weekend. So basically, he put out this poll for no reason, because it's pretty much a given, because the only ones that are Nazis like that are the WWE. And apparently what the rumor is that he actually is signed for main roster money, is going to actually get to bypass and never go on NXT and go straight to the WWE main roster. The one thing I want to just say real fast is Killer Kross, all the stuff you're good at, your promos and all the stuff that you do is not going to work there. Do you know why? Because someone's going to be writing every single line that you have to say. Look at everyone that's basically been a star in Impact, that's went over there and not named AJ Styles, and look at what's happened to their career. All of them down the toilet. So, Kross, I guess I kind of wish you the best luck. If you go to NXT, you're a hypocrite, because from what I understand, they don't pay more than Impact. And best of luck to you. I would like to see the guy in AEW, because I think he's a talent. I know you can't stand him. So I'll pass it over to you, but it's just like, fuck you for even putting up your poll. We all know you're going to WWE. These things break. So, your thoughts?
Look, I was a big fan of the guy. We interviewed him here on the HeelCast, and he was a sensational interview. He forgot our interview was coming up, and then he tried to take the interview from, I don't know where the fuck he was. He sounded like he was in the middle of a fucking wind tunnel. It was terrible. And I had to cut him off, and I was like, dude, you're going to look like a complete freaking douche if we record this thing. He eventually called us back, and we got it done. So kind of as a person, we interviewed him. He was a bit of a dick. And he wasn't really a dick about it, but he wasn't very respectful. At the same point in time, he was very professional, and he was a fantastic interview. And everything that he did at Impact, he did it extremely well. So as a talent, like, you just can't take away from the guy. As a human being, he just wants more. And there's a right way and there's a wrong way. He could have worked that last year, gotten the opt-out like everybody else did, and had a lot more momentum right now, right? But he chose to be very public with what he did. And I feel like WWE is going to be cautious about how they push a guy like that. And yeah, maybe he's going to get bigger money. And you know what? Good. I'm like, I don't like. It's hard to root against people unless maybe it's like Jordan Disgrace or Sienna. That's a different story. But it really is hard to root against people. At the same point in time, man, he's going to get what he deserves. He's going to get buried. He's not unique in WWE. That's the kind of character that they have a lot of. And I don't see them pushing him to the moon, particularly not right away. He's not that strong. He's not over with the crowd yet. So I think he's got a lot of upside. And Griggs and I talked about this guy is going to be a massive star. Like, after we interviewed him, like, this guy is going to be a big star. So maybe he is, and maybe he's not. At this point in time, he's just, I don't like the way he conducts himself. I don't think he needed to be public with everything he went public with. I think he could have gotten the same effect without doing that. And you know what? If he gets there and WWE doesn't trust him, then he'll get what he deserves.
True story. And the thing too, I mean, WWE does have a lot of big guys, and I don't necessarily think it's his look or his size. It's his creative ability and his promos and his ring work is decent. I don't think it's special, but it's good, especially for a guy his size. It stands out. When you're going to WWE, you're giving away literally 100% of your creative freedom. Where if you were to go to a bigger stage than where you're at, say AEW, you get to keep that. And I think that is what is going to be the ultimate factor as far as his success rate goes. And I'm sure a lot of these people go, okay, well, the money's there in WWE, and I know it's happening to everyone that I know, but I'll be different. I'll stand in line. I'll do what they want. I'll nail everything they ask me to do. I'll go out there and kiss ass and be a company guy and this and that. And it doesn't work out because you're not their own product. and the stuff that you do, they take away from you, put their own shitty writers on it for way too much TV time, and then it gets watered down quickly, and it doesn't work. Big shock. It's just it's almost sad that people don't get it. At the other hand, too, look, let's be real. We expect him to go to WWE because his girlfriend or fiance or whatever you want to, whatever Scarlett is over there. And to keep it real too, when Scarlett Bordeaux is your significant other, you're away from her for that long. You're probably gonna have every dude and at least single dude and probably some of the married ones and probably some of the women trying to bang your woman every night that you're out.
Even so, Pat Patterson is coming for Scarlett.
Yeah.
Pat Patterson.
I would probably come in there and if I were in his situation too, and doesn't matter how confident you are, that's just keeping it real. But I guess we'll see. I think it's pretty much 100% locked that he's going to WWE, and I think it's a slap in the fan's face that he put up that poll on his Twitter page. So, any more on Killer Kross before we move on?
Nah, I'm just glad he's going to WWE, so we don't have to talk about him anymore. It's finally over.
Right. Now, a guy with Impact. So, did you see the video of not the original, but the second Psychosis confronting Konnan and slapping him in the face?
I did not see that. Did not get to watch the actual video, but I did listen to Konnan talk about it.
Yeah. You want to paraphrase it, or you want me to?
Oh, you can go ahead and paraphrase it. I mean, sure, I'll paraphrase it. Konnan didn't like the way that Psychosis was doing business. So when he came back to AAA, he didn't book him, and Psychosis got upset. And Konnan said, "Come see me in Tijuana or wherever I'll be with Impact." And so he did, and he got bitch slapped, and there were a bunch of guys around. And by the way, it's not the Psychosis we all know and love. That's a different Psychosis, because this is Mexico, and everything's fucking backwards in Mexico. So there's 2 or 3 or 10 Psychosises running around, all with the same fucking costume. So yes, folks, it looks like the Psychosis from WCW, but it is not. So, I mean, that's right. Isn't that pretty much what happened?
Yeah, so apparently the guys that were there were his entourage, the people standing around. They recorded it, actually tried to sell the footage like a Mexican TMZ over there. When I saw it, I thought, man, Konnan, who talks about being so street and gangster all the time, just lost all his street cred. After hearing his story, for one, I didn't know Konnan had 2 heart stents in his heart. I knew about the bad hip and all, but I still thought, a man slaps you. But from his perspective, where you're confronted by like 6 different guys, it seems, you're going to get jumped by all of them. You have 2 stents in your heart. I actually don't blame the guy anymore. I think he probably did the smarter thing and put his pride aside. So I'm not going to say Konnan lost all street cred, which I originally was, but it just kind of and apparently this dude is like a nut job and thought he was better than the real Psychosis and was working super stiff. And the old Psychosis actually didn't even show up to a match because they were wrestling Psychosis versus Psychosis. Said he was going to end up stabbing the guy or something because of the way that he works. So, I mean, the dude just seemed a little bit mentally unstable. And that's all I have to it. I don't know if you have anything you want to chime in.
Yeah, regarding Konnan and what he said, remember now, he's had a couple of days to digest it, come up with something to say, and he's a good talker. So he's going to have an excuse. He's going to have an out for why he got bitch slapped and didn't do anything. But here's the thing. When was the last time you actually saw Konnan? Dude has a cane. Dude can barely fucking walk. So he has 2 heart stents. Yes, he probably shouldn't be fighting, but he can barely walk. Whose ass is he going to kick? I mean, like, seriously, he's not even kicking Tessa's ass, okay? There's your number 1 contender. There's somebody she can beat legit, okay? He can't beat anybody, okay? Orange Cassidy could beat fucking Konnan, okay? Orange Cassidy could beat Konnan. Yeah. But the bottom line is that Konnan is in such a weakened, bad physical shape. That guy coming up and bitch slapping an old beat up man like Konnan, that is losing your street credibility, dude. Yeah. You just don't do that to somebody that's in Konnan's position. You just don't. It's like, this is just unfair. So and that's why I think it's okay and he didn't lose any street cred, because it's just, you're just bullying like the guy the guy can't do anything to you, and then you're bringing 6 guys to boot, and Konnan wasn't gonna say that, but that's the God's honest truth. It's like, dude, you shouldn't be fighting anybody. You can barely fucking stand up.
Absolutely. So I didn't look at it that way, but you make a good point. It probably was Sikosis number 2 or 27. That lost his street cred there, if anything. No, we got 2 news stories to go before we get into the recaps. We're going to talk one more non-AEW, and then we'll get into an AEW, the Top Dog story. So the first one, big shock here. Not only is it shocking that it's females, but even more shocking it's these 2 females. The Tessa Blanchard and Allison Kay / Sienna drama continues this week.
God's sakes.
We covered a lot of this last week with the drama. We covered the racism stuff. We covered the idiocracy of her becoming champion. So basically, and it was a little bit hard to follow, but Sienna had posted on Twitter where it was basically like Tessa asked a mutual friend to ask someone to dig up dirt on Sienna or something like that so she could try and expose that out on the air. And Sienna posted the messages of the person asking on Tessa's behalf or something like that, or giving her a warning on her Twitter. And then another story came out too. So Tessa, I mean, she backed out of an indie show. There was one indie show that refused to have her on. I think it was Heavy Metal Wrestling. But then a story came out about Tessa being a bully to the on the WoW show, the Women of Wrestling, including berating one of the trainers, making one of the trainers actually cry in front of the rest of the locker room, and being a bully to other women. Penny, for your thoughts.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Tessa Blanchard's the greatest person on the planet, because I'm guessing she's probably not. Okay, at the same point in time, I was watching NWA Powerrr tonight, trying to get caught up, because as you know, I was on vacation last week and I missed a whole bunch of wrestling, so I'm just about back to go, and I fast forward through Sienna's segments because I've had enough of her. So on her, I sit here and I say, you post dirt and try to ruin the biggest moment of this young lady's life, and then you have the nerve and the audacity to act as though she's not going to try and reciprocate at all, and she should not, because after all, you own the high moral ground because of the way that you acted unprofessionally. And that's the way that works, right? This is just typical stupid shit that you see online these days, right? It's like, I can attack you, but you can't attack me back. So as far as Tessa trying to dig shit up on Sienna, well, what the hell did you expect? Let's get that one straight up the bat. Now, let's address the other issue here, which is Tessa and bullying. She probably is a bully. I mean, what the fuck do I know? But she probably is. But, Raven effect. You ever heard of bullying going on in the wrestling locker room?
Never at all.
And that's what the fuck they do. That's exactly what wrestling locker rooms are. They rib each other. They bully each other. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's right? Because it's not the way that, I would allow my business to run. Right, I make my people. Well, my people do genuinely care for each other, but I make them care for each other. You have to. We're supposed to be a family. Wrestling locker rooms are not like that. So I'm not going to sit here and condone it because it's not my way of doing business. At the same point in time, it's like, don't get into fucking wrestling if you don't want to deal with the shit in the back, because it happens. Look, the ring is just a little tiny part of what you do. The back is the bigger part, and wrestlers have been bullying and ribbing and doing shit to each other back there for fucking years. They'll take a shit in your purse, dude. Okay? Like for real. Who was it took the shit in Sonny's purse again?
Randy Orton. I know Randy Orton did it to someone. I think one of the female wrestlers at one point.
So they'll take a shit in your purse. Now, you tell me you want to have a shit taken in your purse. They'll do shit and they'll ruin your trunks and they'll ruin this, and you spend good hard money on that shit. And again, does any of that right? No, but that's the culture, right? So don't single Tessa Blanchard out for actually, living the culture. It doesn't mean the culture that couldn't be changed. Don't sit there and bullshit me on Twitter. I'm probably not going to see it anyway because I don't really do much Twitter, because I'm quote-unquote condoning it. No, but it's like, dude, if you play football, you might get a concussion, okay? It's a part of the fucking game. So is this. So, work with the promoters to change it if you don't like it, but do it the right way. Yeah, she's probably guilty, but whatever. So, how many people before her are guilty? Why single her out? Because you're jealous. That's the only fucking reason to single her out, because you're jealous. Make change. Don't make change. That would be my response to that. If you don't like it, make change.
I can't stand Tessa at all, and I do think she probably is a bully. I know,
Totally.
I believe the stories that came out. Literally, I believe everything at this point. And remember she blocked Evil East from wrestling on an Impact show. This isn't the first story I've heard. No, granted, I do have, like I said last week, I got a friend who's in the business. He was a big manager in the 70s in the territory days. He posted stuff on his Facebook. I saw the Patriot, Del Wilkes, for those of you who remember the Patriot back in the days. He'd said he'd worked some indie shows with Tess, and she was nothing but respectful and polite and so forth. So there's a lot of he said, she said, but, for
But those guys understand what I just said, too, right? Because they were bullied, and they bullied, too. I mean, like, the fuck?
The thing that I was going to say is, you remember WrestleMania 7 when it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior rematch, and Hogan was going to get the win back, but then we went to war with Iraq, and Sergeant Slaughter turned, and they had the big Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter feud. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, to me, the Sergeant Slaughter character is like Sienna in real life, just without the military service. That's how I feel about her. I think she's a shitty person, too. And I think it's basically two petty bitches going at each other. She obviously went further. Tessa just kind of defending herself. But, I mean, instead of trying to dig up other dirt, just turn the other cheek and walk away. You already, got something that you didn't deserve as far as the Impact Championship. So take your win and just move forward. That's how I look at it. But was there anything else you wanted to add, or did you want to actually talk about the her winning the championship or the racist allegations at all? You don't have to by any means. We covered them all last week. But...
I thought you probably said enough. I mean, there's two sides to every story, and people have come out and said that she had that kind of relationship. Like Chef uses the N-word all the time, and Chef isn't black, but he can because he's in the culture or whatnot, and everybody knows he's not a racist. I've heard that side too. It's like this. Come out when it happens. Don't come out, years later at the quote-unquote opportune time. I'm going to ruin you now. If you got an issue with it, deal with it at the time. Be a man about it, as they say, or a woman about it, but step up for yourself when the time is right. As far as Sienna is concerned, I hope like hell that Billy Corgan takes that damn belt off of her. Because I think she deserves to drop it over this. So, I don't know. Fuck all of them. Fuck Sienna, fuck Tessa, fuck all of them. They deserve each other.
Exactly. That's how I look at it, too. Now, look, we've got one last story, and then we're going to get into recapping NWA and AEW, and I just want to give people a heads up. So, the AEW stuff is what we've been wanting to do for a long time. We didn't get to cover AEW the way that we've wanted to since it started, and that's really going to be our main focus from here on out. We are going to recap the last show, but then we're going to really go in depth at what we like, dislike, suggestions for improvement, what we want to see done in AEW, and so forth. So this is going to be a big AEW show, so please don't miss it, and stay tuned, because this is really for the AEW fans and going forward. But the AEW news, so Lance Hoyt / Lance Archer is currently working with New Japan, but he is apparently in deep talks with AEW and should be signing with AEW and probably debuting sometime in February. Your thoughts on the big man of Killer Elite Squad coming into AEW wrestling?
I think he'll be a good fit, right? I think he's probably a good fit there. I think they need to expand their roster right now, and then I think that they need to prune it. I think they got a lot of dead weight in the roster, to be honest with you, and I don't think they can get rid of that dead weight until they get some more signings. And I've said from day one that their roster in a year is going to look a lot different than it does right now. They needed a roster to get going. And somebody posted on Facebook, say, who are you not into in AEW? And I went through at least half the freaking roster, right? Because they're just not over with me. The show as a whole is over with me in a big way. I'm not dissing the show, but they got a lot of dead weight. So if they can bring him in and bolster the roster, that allows them to then get rid of somebody that maybe doesn't need to be there. right? And so I think you're going to see a lot of that moving forward. They're going to have a larger roster for a while, and they're going to prune it out. So that's what I think will happen. So, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was never that big on him, during his Impact run as Lance Hoyt. The stuff he did with the Killer Elite Squad, it made me, at least the tag team itself, which obviously is not a thing right now anymore. Back in the Impact days, I was really hoping there would be someone to come into Impact. But Archer's kind of won me over a lot more. I think he's improved a lot. He's very active and interactive with his fans. I've had multiple interactions with the guy on Twitter, so I look forward to it. I guess I got some kind of suggestions later on too for him that he would fit into, and we'll talk including who to bring in and who to get rid of with the roster, because I couldn't agree with you more about it needs to expand but also needs to be purged a bit. So we'll see where it goes from there. Possibilities are endless. They do need bigger guys for sure, and he fits that mold too. So get rid of that whole all petite stigma that some of the smarks are trying to get at. Talking to you, Hurls. All right, my man. So we're gonna hop into NWA Powerrr, discuss our predictions for the Hard Times pay-per-view coming up actually tomorrow. First off, though, I mean, I kind of gave mine. What's your thoughts on the NWA so far with the reboot here?
I think it's gotten corny. I thought it was really good the first 5, 6, 7 episodes, and I think the last 5, 6, 7 episodes it's gotten a bit corny. All in all, it's very refreshing for me because I grew up, watching NWA Powerrr and watching those shows out of Georgia, and the studio shows. So it's hard for me to hate on something that I have been such a fan of my whole life. But I will tell you that this Stu Bennett, right, is horrid. I cannot stand listening to the guy. I understand that Jim Cornette was always going to have to be fired for something or other. Whether you agree with why he was fired or not is a completely different story. But you knew the moment they hired Jim Cornette, he was going to be nothing but a problem until they fired him. And gosh darn it, he proved to be just the case. The issue with that was that Jim Cornette was the perfect voice for the show, because he was on the show and he was a big part of the show and he's a big wrestling historian and buff. He was the perfect person for it. And Stu Bennett's trying to follow that up, and it's hard. It's impossible, especially when you just don't work. I feel the show has gone way too UK. I feel like it could be the UK Wrestling Alliance as opposed to the National Wrestling Alliance. I do think that Magnus, it has been phenomenal. Playing that Ric Flair type of role of the dirty champion has done a great job. So I think all in all, I think it's a great program, but I do think that they got some really weird shit with question mark, and then yeah, I know, right, question mark, and then they had a battle royal, and they had this little dude that fell off the top rope and hurt his foot and could barely walk, and then they've got Royce Isaacs, who's Bram's partner now, who was just absolutely freaking hideous. Right? Like, somebody just get that guy off my TV screen already. So they've got a lot of the Trevor Murdoch, right? Right, Trevor Murdoch, and he actually like wins stuff. But then they got Aaron Rex, who's doing some of the best work that I've ever seen. It goes by Aaron Stevens now, but doing some of the best work I've ever seen him do. He's on fire. Right, so they got some good things, they got some bad things, but I think they just need to just plod through and see how they make it work. But they need to be a little bit less corny. That's my take. How about yourself?
Yeah, I kind of went over quite a bit of it yesterday, and really it wasn't clicking for me at all. But I'm gonna be honest now. I didn't watch it at the start. I've only been watching for about 4 or 5 episodes now. This last episode, man, it struck me, man. I'm excited for it. It got me hyped up, and I'll tell you what really got me hyped up was Pope. I love hearing that man cut a promo. I just don't think that besides Eli Drake, there's no one on his level in the business right now. And really, like, they've got, when you think they've got all these talkers, they've got Pope, they've got Eli Drake, that are just phenomenal.
James Storm.
Yeah, and then you've got, those two are on a tier that no one else is on. But then you've got James Storm, you got Nick Aldis, you got Mr. Anderson even. You got a lot of guys that can talk. I don't think the wrestling is, and it doesn't have to be this 5-star Meltzer shit that he jerks off to, and his little cronies jerk off to as well while watching Dave Meltzer jerk off to it. But I just don't think the wrestling has hit it there. Now, the show's got me really excited for the next episode of Powerrr. Am I excited for Hard Times? No, it's not a good pay-per-view card by any means, but I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And my outlook from last week to today has changed dramatically on the show, and we'll be going over this here pretty soon. I think honestly, man, with Eli Drake there, they have something special with him and a star. But if they keep pushing Pope on TV, and if they take him back, because like there's guys way past their prime on their wrestling actively. If they push this guy the way that the TNA should have 10 years ago, I honestly feel that NWA has potential to have something really big and special. They're just on such a small platform that it's disappointing. But anything else you want to bring in before we go into recapping Powerrr and predicting Hard Times?
Now let's roll.
All right, so the show, basically the recap here, we had Thunder Rosa defeating Tasha Steelz. Later on, we saw Melina setting up a championship match at the pay-per-view between your girl Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. The thing that rubbed me wrong with that is, I mean, who is Melina to be making all these decisions? And normally, the champ calls the shots, but basically it was Sienna was just her puppet. We had Nick Aldis cut a promo on Marty Scurll. We had the television championship qualification match, Trevor Murdoch defeating Thomas Latimer, aka Bram. Don't ask me to even give my thoughts on that absurdity. Allison Kay defeating Marty Bell in a no DQ match that was earlier set up by Melina. We had the Pope and Homicide, or not Homicide, but Kingston out there for a promo. It kind of almost, Pope's talking about how he's looking for his horsemen. They kind of tease some tension between Kingston and Pope, and Pope saying it wasn't him that lost, and Kingston saying, well, maybe Pope was pushing him too hard, sort of a thing, and blaming an injury for why they lost the match last week. They had a karate demonstration with the question mark that was led by Aaron Stevens, and I thought it was pretty fucking hilarious, to be honest, although I felt it was on TV for too long. Like the segment ran too long, but I also thought it was pretty damn funny and just so over the top. It was ended with Aaron Stevens was coming out to break a board, but it ended up being what's his name? Is it Ricky Starks? Yeah, Ricky Starks was the guy that he hit him with the board instead and attacked him in the question mark and cleared house there. They had a gauntlet battle royal to get someone into the TV title. It was won by Mr. Anderson, who then attacked his old partner, Colt Cabana, and from what I understand, basically was a way to write him off TV as he's done with NWA or his contract is up. So Mr. Ken Anderson advances to the TV title tournament. And then we had the Flip Gordon promo. And then the match ended with Nick Aldis retaining his world title against 63-year-old Ricky Morton. Now, I was very critical about this match. I don't know if you saw this or not, too, but Nick Aldis had put out basically a letter or a memo to people who were complaining about this happening and saying that it was him that made this match happen because he wanted it so bad because of the lineage and growing up with the Rock and Roll Express, and that the match was for him and his doing. So anyone being critical of Morton or Corgan or anything, to direct that heat towards Nick Aldis, which I thought was very cool. Show kind of ended with a pay-per-view rundown, and then Marty Scurll with his Villain Enterprises coming on and saying that he'll see Aldis at the pay-per-view. What you think of the show? Obviously, I mean, we kind of heard my thoughts on it. What's your take on this week's episode?
Well, first of all, let's address Nick Aldis and taking responsibility for the Ricky Morton world title match. What a fucking classy thing to do. How often can you say that on the HeelCast? Here's a classy guy. No, he didn't get drunk at a funeral. No, he didn't, say bad things about the dead guy and cause a fuss at the funeral. He said, you know what? I wanted this match. This is my doing. We all know Ricky and Robert probably shouldn't be wrestling on TV, but I mean, they're the Rock and Roll Express. They kind of are. They kind of represent the NWA. It's kind of cool. As far as him getting the title shot, I mean, yes, it's It's bogus. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? At the same point in time, think of it this way: it gives Nick Aldis somebody to feud with, while some of these other guys are getting each other over. Right? They don't have a real high end, top end of the card there, right? So it's not really the end of the world. So that didn't bother me as much. I'm not a big Ricky Starks fan. You mentioned Ricky Starks cleaning house. They're trying to push the guy to the moon. I don't feel it with him. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think it's great that Nick Aldis did that, and I mean Ricky Morton shouldn't be getting a world championship match, but yeah, I mean at the end of the day, I don't think anybody was harmed in it either. So what the fuck?
You know what, man? I'll say this too. That match was a lot better than I ever expected it to. I don't know. What do you think of it?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned it because as we were getting ready to go on air, I was just getting into that match to watch it. So that's the one match that I haven't caught up on wrestling wise yet this week. Ricky Morton can still wrestle for a 63-year-old man. I mean, he's not as bad as you'd think. You know what I'm saying? And Nick Aldis is a good wrestler too. So I can't see them having a problem carrying that match. But it's not going to be a 5-star match. But you mentioned before that these aren't 5-star match guys. That's not what the NWA never really was about 5-star flippy matches. They were all about, tough guys beating on tough guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you watch those matches, the only ones that were capable of having those kind of matches actually were the Rock and Roll Express back in the day. Those guys were off the charts. The rest of them, I mean, you had a bunch of Trevor Murdoch style guys. It's kind of what the hallmark of the NWA was. So sure.
Right. Yeah. So I agree with you there. And so we'll break down the Hard Times pay-per-view card predictions. So we have first the television title tournament. I believe it's all taking place at the pay-per-view. Are you getting that vibe too?
Oh yeah. They said there were going to be 3 matches to win, right? Is that what they said? In one night, something like that?
I believe so. Yeah. So we have it kicking off with Tim Storm versus Mr. Anderson, Zicky Dice against Dan Moff from Ring of Honor, Trevor Murdoch versus a question mark in the match of the century. And we've got Matt Kross coming in to take on Ricky Starks. I want basically, who do you want to win, and also who do you think is going to win?
Oh man, I think when you look at that, when you look at those folks there, I think it's obvious that I'm going to go for Ken Anderson in this one. I think he's the most talented guy there. I'm actually looking for anybody that's even close, right? I think it's clearly going to be Ricky Starks. Right, I don't think it's going to be Josephus, and I don't think it's going to be Trevor Murdoch, and I may have to stop watching if Zicky Dice actually gets there, because that guy is you might as well call him Icky Dice. He's just ugh. I think Dan Moff will actually beat him because I think they'll give some love to an ROH to an ROH wrestler, in the tournament. But I think it's going to be Ricky Starks, and I don't know what these brackets look like. But I could see, Ricky Starks and Ken Anderson in the final. But I see Ricky Starks going over. Yourself?
I basically resemble you. Mr. Anderson's the guy that I want to win it. I think he pretty much has a 0% chance to, but he's the guy I want to win. I think Dan Moff, they'll have him just squash Zicky Dice, to be honest with you. I think Ricky Starks is a guy that they're going to have win for sure. I think we'll probably end up seeing him against the question mark. In one of the matches, and I mean the only other thing I can think of, it's I think Ricky Starks makes all the sense in the world because that's the guy they want to push as their future star. Chef was saying how Bram had told him, that Ricky Starks was going to be a huge star even before the NWA happened. The only other thing I could see happen would maybe be the question mark getting it because he's right underneath Aaron Stevens. And I also the love that they give Tim Storm, I could see him winning it, but I think Ricky Starks is pretty much the solid bet there. So, but regardless, go Mr. Anderson.
That's right.
So
Trevor Murdoch all the way. Hey, by the way, did you notice, man, Ken Anderson's picked up a beer gut.
I was just gonna say his fat belly and all, and let's not forget. I mean, Anderson was kicked out of Impact. Basically, they severed ties when. He wrestled a match against EY. It was, EY was pissed off because Anderson was intoxicated during the match. The match never aired, and that was the last we saw Anderson. So I mean, it's clear to see that guy's still been hitting the bottle. or the 12 packs, or the 30 packs. And then we've got 3 matches for titles, and then the main event, women's title match. We got your girl Allison Kay defending against Thunder Rosa. Your prediction on that one?
Thunder Rosa. It's time for Sienna to drop the belt, and quite frankly, it's impossible to root for her. And after what she did with Tessa, I think that she deserves to lose it. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they take the strap off of her, simply because, she's a liability in social media. So Thunder Rosa has been built up pretty well too, and like I said, Sienna's had the belt for a while, so it's definitely time.
I'm going the opposite. I'm going Allison Kay.
Fuck you.
To retain. The reason being, for one, I mean, let's just be real here. Billy hates Impact, so it probably doesn't bother him as much as a lot of us may think, because he's coming at Impact, who he does not like whatsoever. But the main reason is I think they're building the title match to be Melina versus Allison Kay, and I don't think that we'll see someone take the belt off of her until the Melina match. So that's why my pick is Allison Kay to retain. We have the NWA National title, and one that kind of comes out of nowhere, but we've got Aaron Stevens defending against Scott Steiner, and Jesus, this one's kind of hard to predict. I'll let you go first.
So, God, I was really hoping not to go first on this one. I'm gonna say that Aaron Stevens goes over with interference from question mark, because I don't see him winning straight up, and I just don't see Scott Steiner. But see, that's the thing though. If the Rock and Roll Express can be tag champs, why can't Scott Steiner be NWA? You know what? I'm gonna change it. Scott Steiner for NWA National Champ, simply because he was there back in the day and he represents that. But I don't know. This is a tough one. I mean, like Aaron Stevens beating anybody is hard, let alone Scott Steiner. He's built to be the weak champ. He's barely had the belt. But then again, yes, Aaron Stevens maybe. Dude, I don't know. It'll be a fun match.
Right. I mean, I guess, dude, I'm not even giving a solid prediction either. So what I'm saying is it's hard for me to see them having Stevens drop the belt, because he's so fucking funny and over, and he's playing his role amazingly. Let's see. And then on top of it, though, so I can't see, even though he's way past his days, I can't see them having Steiner lose to the guy. So I have either Stevens is going to win by a DQ and retain, or it'll be like some sort of a no contest, or like Steiner will tap him out with the Steiner recliner, but say like he holds on to it and doesn't go after the match, and they disqualify him afterwards, so Stevens retains. Or my other thought on it, and it'll tie into the next match, is Steiner wins, and then we have another team win the tag team championships. You got Aldis as the world champion, so then Strictly Business holds the 3 major titles. And that, so I don't even know how to answer it, but those are, I think it's going one of those 2 ways.
So
I can't see either guy winning or losing.
Who's part of Strictly Business? Steiner, you're saying?
Yeah, it's Nick Aldis, Scott
right.
Steiner, and the Wild Cards, and what's Bram's girlfriend's name?
Camille.
Yeah, Camille.
Right, I forgot Steiner got included in that. That's right, because he's the one that brought Steiner out.
Yeah.
It's tough because, see, Aaron Stevens was saying that him and Question Mark were going to get all the belts.
And that's another reason why I could see Question Mark winning that TV title tournament too.
Yeah. It's good
because I could see, Stevens is a national champ and Question Mark is a TV champ, and then probably feud with Ricky Starks, who will take the belt from one, if not both of them, at some point. So.
These are hard to call. These are really hard to call.
Which is good.
Now, who do you have the tag match?
So we've got the Rock and Roll Express defending against the Wild Cards and the phenomenal, amazing team that is James Storm and Eli Drake. My God, man, they got to take these belts off the Rock and Roll Express. Smart business and money, I would say it's Eli Drake and James Storm, and they should win this match 100%. Part of me thinks they'll go back to the Wild Card, or the Wild Cards, for reasons which I just mentioned. Gosh, if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go Drake and Storm because I think they should be the guys that get it, and if not, Billy Corgan's he's losing his damn mind.
The only reason not to give it to Drake and Storm is to give them individual pushes, and if they were going to do that, they would be tied up in one of the 3 championship matches. Because let's face it, those 2 guys, when you look at the roster of the NWA, those 2 guys are at the top of the roster, no matter how you put it. So I think it has to go Storm and Drake. I understand the logic behind the wild cards, totally see that, but they've already got the strap at some point on their, on their resume. So now they can give it to somebody else to get them to have it. Then they'll have had 3 different champions. The other thing is that if you give it back to the wild cards, they go back and doing the same feuds. I guess they've been doing it. But if you give it to Storm and Drake, that gives you an opportunity to, to bring in some feuds with some of these other tag teams, right? The Dalstons, Eddie Kingston, and you know what I mean? And so you've got some other options there, and I would actually like to see Kingston and Homicide actually use a little bit better. Yeah, they did have a championship match against the wild cards, but whatever. And the other thing too is, for God's sakes, get rid of Royce Isaacs. This dude sucks.
Right. And put Bram and Magnus back as a team. Those 2 are fantastic together, and Impact really dropped the ball on that, and they never should have.
And Bram would make a great national champion. Like, I could see him as a national champion laughing about how he's not even American and I'm your national champion. I mean, that would be great. That's
right.
heat.
Of course. Especially with the Georgia crowd.
What do you think of Camille?
Good job, Bram.
Right?
I mean, better job Killer Kross, but good job, Bram.
I'll tell you, I love that girl. I think that she is just a star in the making. I mean, if she can talk and wrestle at all, I mean, just her mannerisms, her looks, she's just a badass chick. Like Tessa Blanchard should be watching Camille, right? Because Tessa Blanchard just I don't buy it, but Camille's she's like a scary hot bitch, like all wrapped up in one, Like you wouldn't want to fuck with her. I mean, you would, but not fuck with her. Just saying.
No, look at her, man. Bram would kill you if you said the wrong thing to that woman. Bram scares me, not her. Bram's a scary dude. He's boys with Chef, and we're boys with Chef.
He is a scary dude. I'm just saying, she's legit. Like, for all the shit that I say about Tessa, I think Camille is legit. I mean, she's got a moxie about her that I just don't see out of the other women, like, for real. She's badass. I like her.
But Tessa deserves it.
Right.
No, we got a main event of the night. We've got Flip Gordon representing Marty Scurll's Villain Enterprises, taking on the NWA World Champion Nick Aldis. Keep in mind it's a non-title match. Shit, man, I'm saying either. God, I can go one of the. I think it's either going to be a no contest, or Marty Scurll will interfere and Flip Gordon will get the upset, or of course Aldis with it. It's a hard fucking pay-per-view to call. But I kind of feel like we might see Flip Gordon get the upset to push to the Marty Scurll and Nick Aldis feud. I'm going to say this, and then I'll let you give your prediction, but Marty Scurll versus Nick Aldis isn't what we should be building to. You should be building up to Eli Drake against Nick Aldis is your big thing in promoting. Eli Drake is your top guy, but your prediction on the match?
Yeah, I think Gordon's going to go over, and I think it's going to have something to do with Scurll showing up. I think it really will. I think if what you're going to see is Villain Enterprises against Aldis's group, and you're going to see ROH and NWA working together pretty hard, and this will build to that, right? NWA, they need some help. When you look at their roster and you look what they've got going on, Ring of Honor, they need some help. So I think if you put them together, I think you have something which is a little bit bigger and a little bit more legitimate between the two companies. So I think it is a good way for the two companies to work together. I think it's mutually beneficial. So I see Gordon going over this because it's non-title. If it was a title match, it's a no-brainer. It's going the other way.
Right. Now, absolutely. So I kind of echo it. If I had to put money on it, I'm going to go with the no contest or Flip Gordon coming away, but that's my take as well. So let's hop into Dynamite from the Jericho Cruise Bash at the Beach, week number 2. I guess we'll start. I watched Dark for the first time. We had Big Swole defeating my girl Diamante. Hope Diamante gets signed. It ended with the Jurassic Express defeating the Strong Hearts, and we hopped into Dynamite. We opened up with new tag team champions with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega winning the tag team championships from SCU, which is a bit of a shocker to me. We had, in a big shock, the stinker of the night, Britt Baker defeating Priscilla Kelly in what was just a shit match. Kind of had Baker turning heel right after that, kind of basically making herself seem stuck up. She kind of cut down Tony Schiavone for being a shitty barista prior to all this, bragging about how she's a dentist. The match still sucked, but I guess it's good to do something with Baker because nothing with her is clicking, and it probably won't. We had Jericho with Proud and Powerful defeating the Jurassic Express. MJF defeating your boy Joey Janela. Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford had some interference just by appearing there. Afterwards, MJF cut a great promo, saying it, in a world full of mumble rappers, Cody was a real lyricist, and that how Cody said that MJF was just a chapter, and that he was right. He's the last goddamn one. Cody came out. He said how there was MJF had kicked the mic away from Cody so he couldn't pick it up, and he had said, there's no Warlow here because Cody can't touch me. And as he's walking away, Cody says, "You're right, but they can," and the Bucks come out and super kick MJF and throw the salt of the earth into the pool, making it some salt water in there. And then we had, Adam Page kind of taking credit for the win by himself, kind of took a little cheap shot at the Bucks, teasing a heel turn. And then the main event of the night was Jon Moxley becoming the number 1 contender, defeating Pac. I thought the show was fucking great. I don't like the tag team title change. I think the belts needed to change hands, just not to those two. I was expecting Paige to turn heel. I don't think that the tag team title should necessarily be used to escalate a singles feud. I think Pride and Powerful or the Young Bucks or the Lucha Brothers, as badly as they've been booked, should have been the team that dethroned SCU. Moxley versus Jericho, I'm excited for. MJF versus Cody Rhodes, can't beat it. Your thoughts on Dynamite?
I thought it was a good show. I totally don't understand why Kenny Omega is the tag team champion. Like, this is a guy who has routinely been listed in the top 1 or 2 wrestlers in the entire fucking world, and they do absolutely nothing with him. And when you see him in the ring, dude is great in the ring, and he's very charismatic. He's over. I just don't it's like they're trying too hard to say that we're not going to make these, the elite, the EVPs, we're not going to push them. And it's like, no, if they're over, push them. Like good businesses, right? They use their employees properly, and they do the right thing. And the right thing is to push the hot guy, and they're hot for a reason. I said after the Britt Baker match, when they cut it off and went to commercial while she was still gabbing, that it was like seriously the only humane thing to do. That literally could be the worst promo ever. I'm talking like Ultimate Warrior bad, folks. I'm talking like when Macho Man would come out and he was on fucking cocaine and he couldn't get like a sane word out like Ultimate Warrior would do, right? That's how bad she was. It was absolutely fucking hideous. It's like they decided we're going to turn you heel, so just cut a promo on JR, and she just couldn't fucking do it. Like, Britt, you belong in WWE. You need somebody to write your lines. It was horrid. I felt bad for Tony Schiavone. I don't understand why he would be a barista. Everybody knows he's the voice of the Georgia Bulldogs. A pretty damn good job, but he's a barista, and she said it over and over again. It was terrible. So that was horrible. In the match itself, I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe I was just thinking that, that we're talking about Darby Allin's, wife, that she was going to be a little bit better, but, that chick wasn't any good either. So it was just, I don't know. Their women's division is a big snooze. The only one who's any good is Riho, and she wrestles about twice a year. right? But she's actually fairly fun to watch in the ring. Chris Statlander, just get her off my TV show. She's supposed to be an alien. She doesn't act like an alien. I'm not buying her as an alien. She's just somebody with some weird paint on her arms and shit, and she's just fucking terrible. Okay, like seriously, Brandy Rhodes is like the only thing good going in that division. I do think. You don't think?
Oh, the Nightmare Collective is the worst. They make the Dark Order look good.
Oh, I don't see. Here's the thing. I like Brandy. I don't necessarily like her Nightmare Collective. I just like, maybe it's just because she's hot. I like Brandy in general. Okay, the Nightmare Collective is stupid. They got that guy who's coming to the ring with them now.
Luther, and trust me, I got notes up to talk about that. God damn, that's terrible TV.
I mean, that's just like, put him with Chris Statlander and kick him off of TV. And this is the thing with this show. You got people like MJF, who's money. I mean, he really is money. He's doing a great job. And then you got people who just can't get past. It's like Marco Stunt. Get him off my TV show. Dude's like 2 feet tall. I mean, like, seriously, like, my daughter could kick his ass, like for real. You got Jungle Boy, who's probably not bad, but my God, all they keep talking about is his dad, like, type of a thing. But he really isn't that bad. You got Joey Janela, who just screams of, I'm an indie wrestler. He should not be on national TV. He just shouldn't be on national TV. You got Evil Uno. I'm done. I'm not even going any further like that. And then you got a guy like Darby Allin, who's really freaking talented, just a little small for the role that he's in, but really a freaking talented guy, right? But then I got to look at Chuck Taylor. It's like, really, the Butcher and the Blade. It's like they got some of these guys that suck, and then they got Jericho, who's over as all hell, right? And so they got Jimmy Havoc, who they don't use enough, right? And so you just look down their roster, and it's like they're starting to do a decent job at pushing Luchasaurus. That guy is just a star in the making. But John Moxley is absolutely insane. But then does Jake Hager do anything for you at all?
Yeah, he does. It's funny because I got this stuff planned to discuss later on in the show, but you're kind of going there. I mean, yeah, dude, Jake Hager, man, the way that Lucha Underground used him, basically they put all the stink that the WWE put on the guy. They got rid of it in one day. They need to use him more. Like, from what I understand, there's like a thing with Bellator to where he's not wrestling because they're not allowed to have him lose while he's he's either working for Bellator or undefeated in MMA with Bellator. But the same thing, it's like, then don't have the guy fucking lose then. Like, he's one of the bigger names on the roster from both WWE and Bellator. And the closest thing that they've linked him to in a feud with would be Dustin Rhodes, which Dustin Rhodes has zero business going over Jake Hager at this point. I mean, use the guy.
I think his look is really stupid with that polo shirt. It's like, make him look like badass, like in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? And for God's sakes, bring back Jack Evans. Him and Angelico, those guys are freaking awesome. Like, put them on my TV screen. Like, I do not need to see Marco Stunt. I would like to see those guys. You know what I'm saying? QT Marshall. Why is this guy on my TV screen? And why are the Lucha Brothers losing all the time? And Sammy Guevara, why is he pushed so hard?
What? Oh, Sammy's tearing it up, man. I love that guy.
Oh, I can't stand him.
I think he's totally nailing it right now. Let's. I guess we're a little out of structure for how I had the show, but I mean, we're on the topic. So, I mean, you're talking about the people that you let go. I mean, I got my list right here. You've mentioned, let's see, Marco Stunt, Jungle Boy. Let's see, the Blade and the Butcher. I mean, who else would you cut ties with if you could? I know you said Joey Janela.
I cut Joey Janela. I would actually keep Jungle Boy, but I wouldn't use him the way that they're using him. I would use him a little bit differently. I would cut Statlander. A guy like Michael Nakazawa hasn't done anything at all. The Best Friends is cool, but not because of Chuck Taylor, right?
Agree.
I who else did I get rid of? Obviously, the Butcher and the Blade. They got to go. Like, they were dead on arrival. Yeah, Seema's not doing anything for me, but they could also maybe try to do something with him. They got to do something. They got to fix Dark Order, right?
Which I'm going to talk about here in a minute.
They got to bring Jimmy Havoc back, right? Jimmy Havoc is actually really freaking talented. He's just got to come back. They got to use Kenny Omega better. Kip Sabian hasn't done anything for me, but like he's got Penelope Ford, so he can stick around because god damn, she's fucking hot, man. Jesus fucking Christ, she's hot. So I'm all right with it because of that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of this roster that just is not worthy, you know. But then it sounds like I'm killing them all. But the Bucks, Santana, Ortiz, you know, Pac. We haven't talked about Pac yet, right? That guy's awesome. Now get fucking Peter Avalon off my goddamn screen, okay?
Whoa. You know we're talking about the legendary.
I know. I do. And Nora Furnham would be great. They want to bring Nora Furnham back. That's fine. Peter Avalon, terrible. Okay. And that librarian chick, get her the hell off my screen. In fact, you know what? Pretty much just destroy that division. Okay. Because if you look through the female wrestlers, who's good there? Awesome Kong, right?
Allie, Sienna.
I mean, Allie hasn't really shown a whole lot. I mean, if we're being fair, Shanna hasn't been used a whole lot, but we think she's probably pretty good. I think Riho's the keeper, and honestly, I think that I think Shida is actually, and Sakura, that they've actually been fairly decent, right? Big Swole, I'd like to see a little bit more of her, right? But for the most part,
not gonna mention our girl that just had the tryout. Not gonna mention our girl.
Okay, fine. I do like Evilise, but let's see if they actually hire her.
Not Evilise. I'm talking Diamante.
Oh, Diamante. Sorry, Diamante. I you know, here's the thing about Diamante, right? Why is she our girl? Because she was in NXT. She was in LAX for a minute. She never friggin' wrestled. Okay, we liked her when she was the LAX. She looked badass. We thought she had a lot of potential, and everybody spoke highly of her. But what have you actually seen her wrestle? What,
when
2 matches?
Go out there, I know, but when she would go out there and do stuff, I mean, she would light the crowd up.
She looked good.
And she did.
She did. But she's like, at the same point in time, it's hard for me to like get behind her and say push her to the moon because I need to see her. I said give her a chance. She never got a chance with Impact, right? She got fucked over because she hurt her arm. So give her a chance and let's see what she can do. But let's be lukewarm on her until she actually like proves herself too. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I agree. I say sign her. Your women's division is awful. Sign her.
There's some of that, right? There is some of that.
Yeah, it's terrible. As far as who I've got down for who I would cut, you know, I've got Brandon Cutler. The dude's awful. QT Marshall, although I guess he's a trainer. Leave him at that.
Actually, Brandon Cutler is a content producer at that. So
is he? All right. Well, keep him there. Luther, who literally I don't know if when that guy came out with the Nightmare Collective, I thought this is literally the worst thing I've seen.
It was horrible.
Like his mannerisms and everything is just so cringeworthy bad. Just never use this guy. And they're like, oh, it's a Japanese deathmatch legend. That doesn't mean shit over here. We don't care. Jay Meltzer might give a shit. We don't. Marco Stunt gotta go. I would get rid of Jungle Boy. I mean. His dad was a heartthrob in the early 90s. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his last movie. Great for him. His son has done nothing. His son doesn't look tough. His son's not clicking. I hate saying this too, but I got Peter Avalon written down. Leva Bates got to go. Get rid of Nyla Rose. There's literally 2 divisions that he doesn't belong in that he can stink up. Just get rid of him.
Goodbye.
Yeah, get rid of Sunny Kiss.
Sunny Kiss, goodbye.
If you're male, any guys on your roster jobbing at this guy, it's where do you come back from that? Because I mean, you may as well be losing to a
Marco
female
Stunt.
Marco
Stunt could job the Sunny Kiss.
That's about it.
Peter Avalon, maybe. Peter Avalon.
No. Norv could probably pick him up in real life.
Norv gets a pass because he was Norv.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably get rid of Angelico or Angelico. That's mainly because I just think Jack Evans is the guy, but
Angelico is great.
I would also get rid of SEMA. I see nothing to do with them. The Strong Hearts, it's not like the Strong Hearts, Nakazawa, Sakura, Shida. None of that stuff is going to work over here. It's not going to get over the way that it does with you know the New Japan crowd or whatever. That's not all that transfers over. There's a lot of people that came, you know, just tired of WWE, former WCW fans, Impact fans. You know, that style doesn't attract casual viewers. And if that's what you're shooting for with all these Asian wrestlers to attract the smarts and stuff, that's all you're going to get. You need to expand, and we all know that. If not, you're going to end up in the same situation as Ring of Honor and Impact and so on. You need bigger names. And, of course, I would get rid of the balding blade, the balding bull, Doring blade, and the Butcher, too.
How does he pop freaking Alley anyway?
I don't know. I don't.
Dude must have a tongue worthy of freaking Gene Simmons, I'm just saying.
Something there. But so that would be my cuts. I guess I'll kind of backtrack to where.
What about Sean Spears? Would you keep Sean Spears?
I would, because they're working with him with the Tully Blanchard thing, and if they're gonna transition him over to tag team wrestling, I'm fine. They were saying this WWE misused him, and he's much better than he was used over there. Our boy Hurls was saying, no, there's nothing there, and I'm going to go ahead and give Hurls the credit on this one. As of right now, I don't see it in Sean Spears, but, I mean, shit, they had him work with Cody. They had him bust him with that chair super hard, and it's just not working. So, I mean, I would keep him just to see where they go with this, but I don't know that he has a long-term future. What about you?
I would cut him. He don't work for me. Look, I'm not a WWE guy, so I'm not invested in him at all. I don't give a shit where you come from. He's not working, so go replace him with somebody that is. They seem to be investing in him if they got Tully there, right? Right. But I'm not feeling it. I'd cut him.
So now, the question here is who would you? They're trying to get the guy a tag team partner. Who do you go with?
I mean, is a tag team partner on the roster, or is he not on the roster?
It could be. I mean, either or. I mean, if you're gonna say, I mean, obviously use someone that's available, but who do you go with to have Tully manage to bring in as this guy's partner?
I mean, that's tough. I mean, we're hearing about potentially Lance Archer coming in. That could be interesting, right? I'm trying to think of who would work from a storyline, perspective, going back to the Four Horsemen, that could work in there. Maybe somebody with lineage or whatnot that way. Right. I don't know, and to be honest with you, Raven Effect, I'm not all that invested in that storyline to give a crap. And to be fair, they're not on TV a whole hell of a lot, and that's probably why.
So I've got, thinking this out, I've got a few names written down. I've got, Jack Evans to split the two, just to give, because I think Jack Evans is a great talent. I had Kip Sabian as an option, just to give him something to do. But then if we did that, we'd have to get rid of Penelope Ford, which I don't think works. Even though they feuded, your boy Joey Janela is going nowhere, and he could be an option. And I had Chuck Taylor too, because I think Chuck totally holds back Trent Beretta, who's a superstar, and I think Beretta is so much better than what that is, and I know that would drive some people crazy to split up the best friends in OC, but I've got those options there on the roster. Now I've got two off the roster. You mentioned Lance Archer. That's one of the names I've got. The other name I could think of would be Teddy Hart, who's available right now, that would kind of fit into a tag team role with some past lineage in his name or history or
yeah, I know, but he's got a lot of other past to deal with too.
He's got some baggage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think those two names right there, Archer or Teddy Hart, Lance Archer probably being the better option because he doesn't come with the baggage. But I do have one more solid one. So I mean, you see Tully Blanchard's in there. You got Arn Anderson in there, that son of a bitch Arn, his old tag team partner with the Horsemen, aka the Brain Busters. I feel like they should be honestly building to a feud between, Arn's guys and Tully's guys, which in my opinion, Arn being the guy with Cody. Cody's one of the last guys that actually needs a manager, unless it becomes like a stable or a faction like the Heenan family, where they manage multiple, because Cody's been a world champ and this and that. He doesn't need that loser Arn from the Arn Sucks podcast, in his back. But the honest to God, if we're going to build to this Tully versus Arn feud, which I think is something that they can't miss out on, if we really need to get a real tag team partner for Sean Spears, I think Daniel Tosh is the obvious choice.
Never trust Arn Anderson.
Tosh can finally get his revenge on that son of a bitch Arn, and he can maybe bring out Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the rest of the Arn Sucks army, and we'll show him what's up. But I do honestly, I hope at one point, because Arn is in there, the AEW capitalizes and they do bring in Daniel Tosh as kind of a joke thing, or at least for a one night thing or something like that, to attack Arn and carry this over, and even maybe get the show promoted on Tosh.0. But no. So so we talked about the extension. We getting 4 more years. So Dark was being talked about being at the second show. From what I understand, they're going to keep Dark. What do you want out of the second show when it comes out?
It's only going to be an hour show if it's going to be Darks, and they kind of hinted at that it was going to be an hour show. So I think this is where you start to build up and use some of your enhancement talent and see who's going over, right, with the crowd and who's not. So I don't know that you're going to have your top talent there, but it's a good proving ground, right? And I think you do have to have some sort of writing. And I think that's honestly, Hurls is, I can hear him right now. His nose is itching, and all he wants to do is talk about Vince Russo. But they do need to hire writers. They do not need to hire Vince Russo, but they need to hire writers. So I would use it for enhancement talent. I would never put Moxley on that show, right? I would put your Peter Avalons or QT Marshalls if you don't just get rid of them. They would be the type of people that would be on that show. And honestly, I would showcase the women a little bit more on that show, because quite frankly, they're not worth the main TV time on Dynamite right now. They're just not worth it. It's the women are on Let's Fast Forward, and that's sad because there's a lot of women out there that have great matches you don't want to fast forward through. Not these particular chicks.
Yeah, agreed. So let's see what else here. I feel like it should be maybe like a WCW Saturday night. It definitely doesn't need to be like an Impact Explosion, but it doesn't need to be Thunder or SmackDown. Make it a mid-card show, not the top guys, but also, names or people actually want to tune in. And don't just have it be all wrestling like some of those other shows are. I mean, put some storylines and stuff in there. I agree with you. They need writers. This Dark Order thing, it was revealed that Marty Scurll was supposed to be the guy that backed out. Now the promo came out the other day. It was Raven's voice. It was pretty clear. And they could be just doing it to throw it off. But the new video came out now. They are disguising the voice of the person in charge. The one thing that they did, which I'm not just being a fanboy, I think is genius, is that botch that everyone was making fun of with Dustin Rhodes getting punched in the face a bunch. They're turning that into an angle and making it look like the weak link, and they want that person gone. What do you feel about that, and who do you think about being in this Dark Order?
Oh, they got to do something with it. They are pushing this thing really, really hard. So I think I'm expecting a big name. This is one of those things where if they get it right, it's going to be awesome for them. And if they get it wrong, it's going to be Aces and Eights 2.0, right? I mean, like, you can't have Bully Ray come in and it's Bully Ray as the leader. It's got to be somebody big. It's got to be somebody you wouldn't think of. I mean, it could turn out to be Cody trying to take over the brand from, you know what I'm saying? It could be something like that if they're going to leave it in house, but they're not going to go out of house for it. I mean, it's literally got to be somebody like a Cody. So I think they're going to go outside of the brand for it, and we'll see what they do. But you start to go outside of the brand now. It's like, well, who's actually coming over? You hear Matt Hardy's name linked to this quite a bit, right? But why? Right, and what's the storyline behind it? So I'm watching with intrigue, but right now all I see is people they can't punch, right? And I see them actually making fun of themselves, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice that they don't take themselves too seriously as a promotion. But I don't know. We'll see. This is one they got to get right. Can't fuck this one up, AEW. Can't fuck this one up.
No, you say Cody, but I actually will say, okay, let's keep it in the family, and I would say Dustin makes more sense because Dustin's had that dark character thing in his past before, and I think he could be a good thing. Plus, he was the one not getting hit, so I mean, it could be kind of a thing about that. I think we may see Raven, kind of be the leader, and make it a Flock 2.0. And I think if that's the case, maybe your Brody Lees or your Lance Archers coming in could be a good thing for him to manage. Also, a name I think would fit great in the Dark Order that can talk and stuff that's out there on the shelves is our boy Crazy Steve. And I think he'd be awesome in there. Just throwing that out now.
But not as the leader. You bring Crazy Steve. Yeah.
I'm just saying as a member of that can talk and be a mid-card kind of a guy that fits the mold. Leader, absolutely not. But
you can put Crazy Steve on any show, and I'm gonna be happy to have him there, like in any
exactly.
freaking role. So Crazy Steve just rocks. Like for those folks that aren't aware, we interviewed Crazy Steve, and he was the coolest freaking guy that ever freaking walked the planet. Nicest guy, nicest down to earth guy there ever was. He's got a place in the HeelCast heart that's earned, and it's we're sold on Crazy Steve here.
Now you did mention Matt Hardy. Now, so he's going to be a free agent soon. Apparently, from what I understand, he was literally put in a squash match on Raw. Big shock. They took the broken thing over to WWE and they ruined it, and it didn't work out, which we called it, and BQ call. I mean, anyone with a brain called. And it's funny, Shark Boy actually put out a tweet that was like, I predict Matt Hardy's going to leave WWE, reinvent himself again, and then wind up back in WWE because it's what the fans want. Now, my thing here is if Matt Hardy does become the leader of this, it takes the Dark Order from a heel faction to a face faction immediately, because the broken gimmick is going to be over and it's going to be a face character again. No, I think Matt Hardy is a guy that they have to get, because he does add a little bit of a name value to it. Now, he's not some huge ratings draw, but let's keep it real, too. The broken Matt Hardy character, even when it was on low-budget Impact, was one of, if not the most over thing in wrestling a few years ago. That said, it's been 3 years ago. And also, too, I mean, there's AEW out there, and I think that makes the most sense. But then again, a return to Impact or even going to NWA where Lagana and Corgan could give Matt Hardy the keys to everything are in his options too. What do you feel about the potential of Matt Hardy coming into AEW?
When I think about where Matt Hardy fits, I feel like he's very close to the Bucks. They have a great relationship, and they have a big platform. And so I see him going to AEW for that reason. I don't think he's a good fit for the Dark Order, because I don't think that Broken Matt Hardy needs a Dark Order, and I don't know what Broken Matt Hardy brings to the Dark Order. He's not really, he's a weird. He's not really like dark. He's not really trying to recruit people to join the Order. He's just weird dude. You know what I'm saying? I don't see him going to NWA. He's not going to work in a studio audience. It's too corny of a show for it just wouldn't work, right? And I don't see him going back to Impact or MLW either. Their style just doesn't fit Matt Hardy. So I see him in AEW, but I don't feel like he's that dark character. You know what I'm saying? That dark character has got to be somebody who is a dark character themselves.
And Jimmy Havoc's another name that could fit that mold that we haven't mentioned too for the Dark Order.
He's not a leader though.
No, I don't agree. I mean,
and the audience wouldn't accept him as a leader because he's not a big enough name over here. He could be. He's incredibly talented. He should be a part of the Dark Order, right? And honestly, Darby Allin would be a good member for the Dark Order too, right? With his weirdness and oddness, those guys could wind up pretty over if they could pull the Dark Order over. But it's gonna have to be somebody who's we've heard Hangman Page as having been rumored for that. Hangman Page just doesn't he's a freaking cowboy dude with the freaking long hair. I don't think he works with it, but again, that's a rumor that you've heard.
Right. Now, I mean, we're running a little bit longer than I wanted to. Let's kind of hop into, I guess, the pros. What. And I know we kind of went over some stuff too, and somewhat maybe negative. But what's the stuff that you love about the AEW so far?
Well, the crowd is amazing, and it sounds like, oh my God, he talks about the crowd first. What a fucking idiot! But the truth is that the crowds make the show. I love the fact that it's got a great time slot. I love the fact that they have a lot of talent, and we've sat here and we talk about the things we don't like, but let's talk about some of the ones we do like. I have been an Adam Hangman Page fan from the moment that he stepped foot in the top prospect tournament in Ring of Honor. I think that the kid's got a great look. I think he's going places. I'm not like you. I think Angelico, I think he's a talented guy to go along with Jack Evans. I think that's a tag team that I'd like to see more of. Okay? Jericho is the top of his game. Christopher Daniels is amazing. I'm not a Chuck Taylor fan. I think he's just a dork. And I thought that when he was in ROH too. But I love Best Friends. And honestly, Orange Cassidy is one of the most over guys on that roster. You can talk about him being, this, that, or the other all you want, and I'm not necessarily going to argue with you because you're probably right, but he's over as fuck. So don't break that stable up for that reason. Cody's tearing it up. I'm not the Darby Allin fan that you are, but he's a kid that does deserve to be on TV. He's a really freaking talented kid. Shouldn't be wrestling for the heavyweight championship. Dustin Rhodes is being used well. Kazarian, right, and SCU has been used extremely well. Obviously tag team champions, but they're over, right? Then you go down, you got guys like Moxley and Omega, right? These guys are the superstars and need to be billed as such, and Omega's not really getting the push that he deserves. I think Luchasaurus is one of the most promising talents in all of wrestling right now, and I'll just stop right there. The Bucks are the Bucks, right? MJ freaking F, kid no more. And I mentioned Orange Cassidy, and let's not forget about the former LAX Pride and Powerful. Pac, that guy is jacked up. He's on fire too. I just mentioned LAX, but we should also make mention of the fact that Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, two of the best singles wrestlers in the world, one of the best tag teams in the world. They asked Cody who to watch out for. He said Rey Fenix, right? Rey Fenix could easily wind up world champion, as could Pentagon Jr. I'm not a Sammy Guevara guy. I'm not a big Scorpio Sky guy, but I do like him in a tag team, right? These are all great parts of the show. So when we go through this stuff, and by the way, I think Wardlow has an awesome look as well. And I mentioned Best Friends and Trent Beretta already. So I mean, that's a lot to look forward to. I think that they're doing a lot with a lot of storylines, but I feel like they're going to the well. Cody's in too many storylines. I think Chris Jericho is in too many storylines. They've always got multiple things going on with multiple people. And it's like, you know what? Take some of those people and put them with the Butcher and the Blade as opposed to some of your top stars. But they know that Jericho and Cody are going to get the wrestlers over faster, and that's what they're trying to do. So I think in a lot of ways we got to be patient. But, I mean, there's way more to love about this show than there is to hate on it. But, Raven, in fact, we're not doing a good job of reviewing it if we're not giving our constructive criticism of it, too.
Right. Exactly. And I've got a lot of suggestions too. I mean, first I will say, like, I love the wrestling, the storylines coming from the wrestling, the majority of the roster. I love Jericho. I love the Inner Circle. I think they need more of them together. MJF, the fact that it is an alternative, the tag team division. They don't have a bunch of bullshit written promos. My Lucha Brothers are in there. LAX is in there. Dustin, SCU. And it's unpredictable. And I think the pay-per-views deliver. I like that they use the managers. As far as other things too, things I don't like about it is the women's division sucks. I think there's a good number of people on the roster, but they're not using them all. I think they've lost some steam since a Full Gear. You've got I don't like I said earlier, Arn being paired with Cody. The rankings are too unseparated. There's not that many good talkers. I think SCU may have been the wrong choice. I feel like Christopher Daniels is sitting here in limbo. We need a new women's champion. The referee botches. They're burying my Pentagon Jr. Kind of a thing there.
So you mentioned referee botches. Let's talk about the referee botches for a second. Who's botching?
I mean, it's been a while though, hasn't it? I can't remember exactly who it was. I think the only referee that comes to name there all the time is Aubrey Edwards. You know what I mean? But I actually don't know if it was her.
She has botched several times. And my beef with her is that I don't think that she's a bad ref. I think she's perfectly acceptable. But for God's sakes, they make her out to be the world's greatest ref when you've got frickin' Earl Hebner around and Paul Turner around and some of these other guys around. Like, why? I feel like she only gets pushed because she's a female. Like, if she was a dude, nobody would be talking about her. And by the way, if she was a good referee, nobody would be talking about her because you shouldn't be talking about the referee. But I mean, I just don't understand why people make her out to be so awesome. I don't see anything awesome about her. I don't know that I'm necessarily firing her either, but it's just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, why are we talking about her?
Right. Now, I know you're talking about the constructive criticism. Basically, I just kind of feel like let's give our suggestions for improvement and talk about who we want to be signed, and then we can wrap up this longer than expected HeelCast, get you to bed. What's your constructive criticism and suggestions for improvement, my friend?
Yeah, it's real simple. I think that they need to expand the roster and then contract the roster. We talked about that before, and I think that they need to, get the writers going a little bit more here. I do feel like they have certain talent and too many storylines. They're trying to get people over. I get it, but they've got to not go to those wells so much, and then they just have to chart their course and stick to their course. As far as who I would like signed, I don't really know who's available, but I think anybody that comes available that is, high talent should be signed. I do think that they should go after people like Matt Hardy. At the same point in time, I don't think that they should go hog wall WCW style and just hire and sign everybody. I think that that's very dangerous.
So as far as, for what I have written down is suggestions for improvement. I'd like to see them build to the Tully versus Arn feud, of course, to use Jake Hager more often, and to use the Inner Circle together more often, as I feel when they're together, they should be the strongest stable in wrestling, and I think they have all that potential to do so. They just don't put them together as much as they used to prior to Full Gear. Use the Lucha Brothers better, a lot better. Get rid of the Nightmare Collective altogether. They do need to hire either a writer or a booker, not Vince Russo. You're right there. Sign better females, a lot of them, because your women's division is awful. And until then, limit it to literally 1 to 0 female wrestling skits on your show until you can improve it, because literally it's P break or change to NXT for some folks. Get rid of some of the people on the roster, of course. I feel like the top guys need to separate a little bit more. Like, your Kenny Omegas, your Young Bucks, your, MJF. I mean, really, it's Jericho and Moxley are kind of separated from everyone else, and then everyone else is kind of really close. I feel like what they're trying to do is kind of build stars right now, and I think they need to separate first and then actually work to build those stars to start. And I hate saying this, but a little bit more storylines and mic talking time. I have used Awesome Kong, Ali, Sienna, and to sign Diamante in there to make this god-awful women's division better. And I have add a mid-card and a cruiserweight championship division. I think the cruiserweight championship division will bring nostalgia back. It's not WCW, but it is TNT wrestling. It's basically been announced at the Jericho Cruise next year we're going to get a trios titles. I would rather see a mid-card belt and a cruiserweight division added to AEW before that. And I also think that with the cruiserweight division, you can take a lot of the roster, put it into that. You don't have to separate your tag teams, but you can make stars out of Ray Phoenix, your Trent Berettas, etc. And I also think that they should have been building to like a War Game style match between the Elite and the Inner Circle, which is what I kind of expected, and they haven't. And I hope that they go back to that. Any feedback on that, and I'll kind of chime in on who I want to see come in, and we'll be kicking this thing off wrong.
No, I think you nailed it. They definitely need a mid-card title, one way or another. I'd probably stabilize the roster before I added 2 of them, but they definitely need a mid-card title. And honestly, wrestling promotions would be wise to separate their heavyweights from their cruiserweights as well. It always worked very well in the golden days, and they've gotten away from it, and it's just not working. But all fantastic insight as always. I think it's a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea. I mean, it was a stupid idea when WCW did it. Right, that's how we got 3 count.
Right.
And I'm out.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good trios in there, but I still don't think a belt is necessary. There's SCU, Strong Hearts,
Best Friends,
Jurassic Express, Best Friends, OC. Yeah. I mean, you can use Inner Circle, and who knows if they'll even be together in a year. But I mean, there's some options, but I just don't think it's the right moves. As far as who I'd like to see come in, as far as people who are available, I think Kelly Klein's a no-brainer, but that's basically going to be impossible because she's getting divorced from BJ Whitmer, who's like, was he an agent or something there? They're divorcing because she cheated, so that, I mean, it's pretty much that women's division improving like that is not going to happen. I do want to see Raven come in with the Dark Order as a manager. Obviously it sounds like we got Lance Archer, but Luke Harper, Matt Hardy, the one I'm really hoping to see come in is Brian Cage. If Killer Kross is a possibility, sure. Diamante and Ivelisse to get that women's division better. Rusev from WWE is apparently going to be a free agent soon. I don't know much about the guy, but I know he has a following to it. There's stuff I can go into, but the show doesn't have enough time. But I hear he's not used properly and like basically the worst thing on WWE programming. I've got Crazy Steve, Veda Scott out there. I mean, you talk about Leva Bates going up and stinking up the joint. If Veda Scott was in her place, don't you think it'd be a lot better? And of course, my boy, and it's going to be rare that I say this, but the attitude has to go. The circumstances need to be right, and he needs to be a team player. But if so, double Austin Aries to come in there. But as much as I love the guy, the attitude's got to stop. The other thing too, and this is an extreme long shot, and people might get mad at me for it, but they're kicking NXT's ass, but beating NXT isn't really what they're shooting for. Eventually, this company's going to want to on Wednesday nights do what Raw or SmackDown does. Hulk Hogan coming over to the WCW did one thing, and that was elevate WCW to a level that it wouldn't have been without. I see a guy out there who's kind of in the exact same boat. He's in Hollywood, getting better movies than Hulk Hogan ever was. Kind of did wrong by the WWE and not necessarily with them per se, but that's the only true star left, and that's John Cena. It's a game changer. I know a lot of the smarts are going to get mad at me for saying that, and I know it's a drastic long shot, but that's the game changer. That's the Hulk Hogan coming over to WCW right there. It's the only chance they'll ever really have. And then from there, it's they got to build these stars on their own. And of course, I got my wish list eventually. Kind of guys that are in the other companies when their stuff comes up. And I'm being realistic because these aren't a lot of people that WWE cheats right or whatever. But I've got Eli Drake and EC3 is number 1 and number 2. The stuff either of those guys could do with MJF either as an alliance or like in a feud would be fantastic. A motivated EC3 as down as you are on him. I mean, the talent there. James Storm, Bobby Roode, your boy Eric Young. The Miracle, Mike Bennett and Maria, Jay Lethal. I'd like to see Rosemary come over at some point. I'd like to see Bobby Lashley get the hell out of there. Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards, I know how unlikely that's going to be. Rich Swann, get well soon, buddy. Willie Mack, Sami Callihan, the Hart Foundation, Pillman and Bulldog Jr., Desmond Xavier, the Mighty Moose, Rockstar Spud, Joe Hendry, and of course the guy that got me all fired up, Little Daddy Jack the Pope. Any of those guys I think come over, guys or girls come over and help the product. I know a lot of those are a long shot or ways away, but trim some of the bad roster and bring in those guys, and I think we got an improving product. Any feedback or stuff you want to chime in there?
I mean, you said bring back the Pope. You had me at bring back the Pope. You know what I'm saying?
Save the best for last.
I mean, you can't go wrong bringing back the Pope.
Absolutely not.
I'm just glad he's back on my TV.
Same here, man. Or my computer screen. And I think Eli Drake's the guy that they have to get. As far as if they're ever going to build a star that's not coming out of the WWE like that, that's the guy. They know how to use him. You have MJF, but better in every way. And as much as I love MJF, I mean, Eli Drake is something that you can't get from anyone else. You know what I mean? That's how high I think about it.
Eli Drake is the undeniable Kavorka. Period. End of story.
God, what's sad is I was actually just going to finish it off with his catchphrase, and I forgot it. But and that's not you just saying that. That's also a fact of life. But I botched this so bad it doesn't matter. So, all right, man. Well, look,
yeah.
Dummy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I just did. So, all right, man. Anything else before we wrap up the show?
Nah, man. It's great to be back. It's fantastic to be back. We're gonna do this again next week, right, Raven Effect?
Absolutely. Catch us next week and every week. Look for Hurls to have an Impact show, too, for you that actually still watch Impact, all 6,000 of you viewers. Goddamn, man, it feels good to be back.
It most certainly does.
So, all right, so check out Hard Times tomorrow. Do not catch the Royal Rumble on Sunday. And check NWA Powerrr and Dynamite this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday. Check out the HeelCast every week in our family. This is the RVE on behalf of the AEW dude who possibly may become brother _ again, depending on when the delete gets freed and where it ends up. On behalf of the HeelCast, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Sorry.